been a while since we've done a video, hasn't it, Simon?
It is indeed.
It's good to kick this off again, and it's good to kick this off with a very special guest tonight. So tonight we're going to be talking to none other than the God of Mischief himself, Tom Hiddleston. Well, no, actually not that, Loki. We're going to be talking to Loke Battlemats, who are equally just as good, let's be fair. Like they do a really tidy product, much like Mr. Hiddleston himself. Don't know where I'm going with this, but that's actually a good thing to be compared to in my mind. So without further ado, let's say hello to Matt and Tam from Loke Battlemats. Hi, guys.
Hiya.
Hiya.
Good to have you back again. It was very good just 2 weeks ago, we caught up with you at the UK Games Expo in Birmingham. It was good to see you there. And that was, I believe, your 4th year there. So
Maybe.
4th or 5th? I can't remember now.
Just don't worry about the COVID year.
Skip a year.
Yes, at least a year.
Yeah, it was fantastic to see you there again. It was fantastic to see some of your new products and your whole back catalogue of everything else that you've done. So, I mean, I'm going to jump right in the deep end here and talk about, well, I'm going to get you guys to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to let you take over your box of adventure. So let's have a chat about that, because, I mean, you started off doing mats and then you moved on to the books, these wonderful books of Battlemats here. And for anybody that doesn't know what they are by now, they're big books of maps, which are dry wipe, straight out of the box, ready to go for all your D&D and roleplay needs. But now you've sort of evolved that into the box of adventure. So give us a bit of an overview. What is the box of adventure?
The box of adventure is a box of adventure. It is a box, and it contains essentially it's a terrain and token kit for a fantasy role-playing game. So it contains modular fold-out maps, similar to what we do in the books, but obviously they are loose leaf and they're fold out. And then there's also a few hundred cut-out tokens in there, and those are terrain tokens, and there's beasts, monsters, baddies. And it's all contained in a handy box with lovely magnetic seals, so it all stores really nicely. And it's about the size of the big book, so it also fits in your bag as well. And the thinking behind it was really, we wanted to do something which means that if you're just getting into something like Dungeons and Dragons, you have a terrain solution, so you don't have to go out and buy a lot of different maps or a lot of different 3D miniatures. And if you want to run an encounter that's got, for example, 8 rats in it, and there's fireballs, 3 of them are on fire, 2 of them have got Hunter's Mark, you can track this really easily because you've got laminated cut-out tokens, and you can literally just write on them what the damage and the status effects are.
Yeah, I think we started thinking about doing essentially a starter kit, but for any system, so like a system agnostic set. And then started to realise that, well, we probably don't need things like dice in there because different systems, different dice requirements.
Yeah.
And start thinking, well, okay, you know, we do maps and accessories that go along on the visualizing side. And yeah, it was just a sort of exercise to focus in on the Valley of Peril, which is, it's a box of adventure number 1, because we are planning more of these. Is your classic sort of forested valley area. So there's hills, forests, road through the forests. Yeah.
Bend in the road.
Yeah. So if you want to ambush people in the woods, you can. So yeah, lots and lots of classic fantasy settings.
It's just it's a lovely thing because the maps as well are modular, so you can just size this one, isn't it? So it's a little smaller than A3 by about an inch or so, and a bit wider. So it's a very good size. Each individual sheet is a map you can play for any encounter, but then you can also line them up in the same way you can on modular books to build up some really quite epic sized maps as well. So even if you've been playing for a while and you have a lot of accessories, a lot of maps, and a lot of scenery, you can still use the box of adventure to add on to what you have, and you can create full table maps, which are ideal for things like 3D scenery to go on as well. So it's a very versatile thing. And we've been able to work with a brilliant graphic artist, Jim Gray, who's drawn tokens for us. And he's done a brilliant job because they really ping out. So there's a huge range of these and things that you can use for NPCs and player characters as well. So it really is a little something for everybody.
I think it's nearly 300 character tokens.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
we kept Jim busy for months.
It really is, like I said, the next evolution of accessory, because I mean, I'm crap at drawing maps. Mine are just scrolled on the back of A4 pages. They're terrible looking. They're no good. So whenever I saw your books, I had to have them because I thought that's going to save me so much heartache and pain. But now the box of adventure also includes tokens, and I'm crap at drawing characters and so on. So for anybody who doesn't have any particular artistic talent, it really is sort of like one of the ultimate accessories that you need if you're going to be a GM. Not even a GM, if you're just going to play and you're the guy that brings the maps. It's such a handy toolkit to have. So I mean, I think it's going to do really well for you. It's another winner, just like your battle maps as well. So I mean, you say they're modular and they can combine with the existing maps. And this is the Valley of Peril. So I'm going to go with a nice segue here. So because this is an exterior set of maps, that's going to tie in quite well with your big book of wilderness.
Because obviously our designer is Matt. He does all the maps.
Yeah.
So it's all the same style as our existing stuff. And also it will complement things like the dungeon very well.
Yeah.
And also towns and taverns, we've got the interiors there. Because of course you always need that wildness surround the town as you come in. But again, the art style is consistent throughout. So it certainly will marry in very well with our stuff. But also whatever else is out there as well, which people already have and happen to be using.
Yeah, so everything's obviously sticking to the same 1 inch to 5 foot scale, so fitting in nicely with most, including D&D, the big fantasy role plays.
Yeah, and because they're loose leaf maps, you get a little more versatility with what order you can put things in and how you can combine them with other things as well.
Yeah, and while none of them are duplicates of any of the maps that are in the books, a lot of them will have similar palettes and same scale and things, so they all complement.
Yeah.
And what kind of price are we talking about?
The box for adventure is £32.
£32.
Yeah, I mean, for a series of Battlemats, how many maps are in the box?
It's 24 modular maps.
24 modular maps and hundreds of tokens.
So,
I mean,
300. Yes, we did.
It's a very good value for money set. And like I say, I had it in my hands over at the expo, and the magnetic box and everything. It's very portable. It's very handy. It's very nice to look at. And the fact that, as you said, Matt, you're not repeating any of the maps. It's all new content. So for anybody who has the books like myself, it's another sort of logical step forward. It's not like you're like, I don't need to buy this because I have them already. So that's all good. But I also noticed recently as well in one of your posts online that you've got a Patreon page and you're creating even more content, even more maps. So give us a wee overview there. I mean, what can we expect to see there?
Mainly, I tend to go for things that are larger in scope than would go in books. So the most recent one that was released was like a 70 by 100 map. So you're like, that's not going to go in like a lot of books. But I've started doing a couple of that would be a very big book. Would need to find new superlatives for just how big that would be.
Matt's found he likes drawing really, really enormous dungeons. And Patreon is a very good place to do that. And of course, with it being complete digital content, it's very versatile in what you can do. Because of course, with a physical product, we're very driven that these should really be reusable, applicable to as many different scenarios as possible, because we want to see them used as much as possible, not sitting on the shelf gathering dust, but on the table every week. But for the encounters, whereas when you're working digitally and online, you can be that much more specific, and you can do these really wild and wonderful maps, which maybe you're only going to see 1 or 2 uses, and be on a much bigger scale as well, which is just fun. It's enjoying yourself.
I think this is good with sideways, as I say, with regards to what's happened over the last year or so, year and a half. It has resulted in people becoming online and picking up in interest, and what have you found with regards to that? Do you have a favorite program, a VTT type program that maybe you use and that you find that your maps work well with, or is it a generic type stuff that can work with all the different types of software that's out there?
So I create the map so that it'll work on all of them. Mm-hmm. The couple of rules I tend to follow is make sure that you're below 5 meg as an output size, just because there are some that will cap you on size of asset you upload. And also, the smaller it is, the better it's going to work online. You don't want the absolutely massive sort of like 300 DPI version of those big maps, because it's 100, 200 meg. It's going to cripple your internet connection as you try and move around the
but
map.
we do, and we know a guy who can print giant maps, don't we, Simon?
Well, I do tend to, because I work in those sizes for the most part, I do tend to make the higher DPIs versions available as well. I suppose another quick thing to mention, the one good thing about Patreon, a bit like Kickstarter, is you get a direct connection with the people that are consuming the goods. So they get a channel where they can feed back, which is, it's nice. We normally get that during Kickstarters, but it's nice to get it wider.
It's lovely to have it on a digital platform, because like you were saying, a lot of people's games have by necessity gone online for the last year, 18 months. And we've seen some brilliant setups with people with cameras set up over the book, so they can still physically have all the miniatures and the setup going without the people in the room. I mean, and likewise, Matt's own game has actually moved on to a couple of the well-known online platforms. And its own challenges, but also its own opportunities. And we certainly see that some people really love the online experience. Other people really just cannot wait to get back around the table. Seeing now, as people are starting to come back together, is there's probably a place for both, and you can even run a physical and an online game simultaneously. And I think we're trying to make sure that people know that our stuff is available digitally and online through places like Roll20 Marketplace and Drive-Thru-RPG. Are two of the places that we have our digital offerings up. And things like the Box of Adventure we were talking about, we've made a free digital copy of that available with every physical copy. So that if you are running a game in person and online for some people, or you have a game that's online that might be moving in person, you have the same tokens and the same maps you can be running with for that continuity.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. That a lot of times you see the separation between the two, and the doubling up on the cost to have the both the same. I think that's brilliant, because there's sometimes that you may be forced to go from physical to digital, especially the way things are at the present minute.
If you check out our Loki Battlemat store on Drive-Thru-RPG, we've made a number of maps available free of charge as well, a number of packs of things available for free, just to help people who have been unexpectedly pulled online and who haven't got a huge amount to invest in getting started. So there are free resources up as well. And I know we're not the only people to have done that, so I think the industry has offered quite as much support as possible in what's been very new and challenging times. It's been very uncharted territories, and we're through the worst of it, and we can all get back to gaming as we know and love it.
Well, hopefully so. And if 2 weeks ago was anything to go by, now don't get me wrong, the numbers were a bit lower than normal at the UK Games Expo, but I would say everyone will be back in force next year, and it will be bigger than ever. And it was just great to see people gaming again. And like I said, it was good to see you guys there. But one other thing I did see recently that I'd be very remiss of me not to bring up. I mean, you guys have went from strength to strength in the last 4 years. And I did notice on your site recently, specifically about your Cyberpunk maps. Cyberpunk's always been a real big sort of obsession of mine. And you guys have somehow become the official maps of Cyberpunk. So do tell, enlighten us. How did that happen? And congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. We are really pleased. Our big and giant Cybermap books have been officially made maps for Cyberpunk Red, which is a game by the almighty Talzorian Games, who are a bunch of truly lovely and wonderful people who reached out to us on Twitter a little while back.
Yeah. And I think they'd had a couple of their customers sort of that had said that they were playing Cyberpunk Red on the books, and they had it suggested to them that like maybe they should get in touch with us, and they very much did.
Obviously we're absolutely delighted, because we've known Talzorian, and like you, Cyberpunk has been very much. You've been playing. Well, ironically, it was 2020 I used to play back in the day. We've now actually passed that in real time, which seems a little strange. But
yes, that's not good, is it? It really shows our age. I mean, I have to say, you guys are being very humble about this. If it was me and I'd sort of like been around for a few years and then all of a sudden I was the official sort of map maker of somebody like Telesurian and Cyberpunk, I'd be high-fiving everybody in the street for days. You know, you guys are just sitting there and just sort of taking it in your stride and going, yeah, it happened. We supply maps now. We are the official people. I mean, how are you not even more excited about that? It's beyond me.
And Matt did come running. I was in bed when we got the tweet, and Matt did come running. I said, "We've got a tweet from Telesurian."
The problem you get is that the exciting time when it's all starting to happen is when you can't tell anyone. So you've got all that, oh, I wish I could tell you. But you've got to wait until everything's in place, everything's in a row, then you can tell people.
Tell me this then. I don't know if you have anything planned. I'm spitballing here. Is there going to be another Cyberpunk battle map book? Or maybe you can't say. I don't know.
I don't think we can say at the moment.
Okay. Simon, that means yes.
Justin, you really put them in this situation, you know.
No.
We've got nothing official on the forward planner.
Okay.
But what I will say is we had a huge amount of fun drawing those books.
Oh, I'm sure you did. They're really good. They're fantastic. I mean, don't get me wrong, the fantasy battle maps are fantastic, but the science fiction ones and the cyberpunk ones, they have just been, I mean, the cyberpunk ones blew me away. I thought they were brilliant. It was something we desperately needed. And for Cyberpunk Red whenever it came along. And to be honest, I'm still using it with my old Cyberpunk. So so yeah, it's a great addition to have. So tell me this. I mean, we've talked about your box of adventure, your wilderness and so on, and your Cyberpunk. What about Kickstarter? Do you have any new projects coming up? Anything you're working on? And obviously there's going to be more box of adventure, but is box of adventure going to maybe go into sci-fi as well, or is it just going to be fantasy for the future?
The next box of adventure we have planned is working title. Is it Coast of Doom or Coast of Dread?
Coast of Dread.
Coast of Dread.
Coast of Dread. Okay.
Yeah, a few pirates, maybe a few zombie pirates.
Possibly a couple of inland swamps and the like.
I mean, yeah, on the tokens for that, and he likes to do cameos. So in the box of adventure, he's in there, as are we both as characters.
I imagine many people he knows.
I think most people who've met Jim are in there somewhere because he did do quite a few for us, and it'll be the same for the.
There is no way that Matt could pass for a medieval-looking guy at all. He looks so normal.
I know. You just gotta, trust in the artist.
So we're sticking with fantasy for the time being. In terms of Kickstarters, we are, as you know, at the moment, I know you've backed this, we're doing the wilderness.
And I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it.
We are, as I'm sure you've heard from other Kickstarters, the international shipping situation at the moment is like plying out your own teeth. So it's on the way. So that's coming out to backers, and we've said we'll do it by December, and we're on track to do that. But this is the painfully slow bit where you could actually walk to the factory, pick it up, and walk back to your house for it in this next bit, I think. But we're on it, and we're doing our best. So while that's happening, we are having a look ahead to our next projects. And there's a couple coming up on Kickstarter that I think we're just about ready to start talking about. The first is a modular map book set, which is titled, make sure I get this right, Castles, Crypts and Caverns.
Castles, Crypts and Caverns, okay. Brilliant.
Which will contain maps of castles, crypts and caverns. I mean,
you don't say.
I mean, Matt loves a cave. What can I say? The first version of the Giant Book Volume 2, which was originally a Kickstarter, and we redrew it for a retail launch, so it became a Kickstarter exclusive. How many maps of caves has that got in it?
There's only 3 or 4 spreads.
3 or 4, so that's like 8 pages. That's 8 pages of caves out of a 60-page book.
I think caves do come up quite a bit, though. But I think part of the plan this one is we've now kind of got the base trilogy in place. So the dungeon, towns and taverns, and the wilderness covers all of the generic areas. So the idea now is we're going to go a little bit more specific's not quite the right word, or detailed, but there's going to be a few more set up scenes, as it were. So yeah, like
we have some Gothic castles.
yeah, we're going to start furnishing some of the areas and try and get that balance between them being generic enough so that you can use them in lots of different ways. But
And speaking of furnishings, oh, there we go. Another fantastic addition to your sets have been the wee stick-on, peel-off stickers. Which
there's
just
one more of those coming as part of the wilderness, which is that set there.
Trying to get that with glare.
Yeah, so all the wilderness things, they're all printed and ready, and we've had basically a box of each thing sent over so we can, check them out and everything else.
And then we have to weigh them, measure them, and send them off to the fulfillment centres so they get the packaging right for the Kickstarter.
But then, yeah, for the main shift and everything else, we are, as we say, waiting for.
It's heading out the factory now, so I think the factory done a lovely job. Everything looks great, but the shipping is always the bit that takes the longest. And I mean, our job really changed at this point from being creators to project managers, as we manage the many spreadsheets to make sure everyone gets the right stuff.
Yeah, it can't be fun every day.
We do try, and this is the point where we start planning the next Kickstarter as well, so we can keep the creative juices flowing through all this. I mean, Matt quite likes a spreadsheet, but they're not for me.
It's a different type of fun, I think.
Well, here, listen, I'm very conscious of our time on this here. We have another 7.5 minutes. So what I'm going to do, I don't have any other questions for you, so I'm just going to hand over to yourselves for the next 5 or 6 minutes. If you want to just sort of promote anything, just spam us with all your ideas. Tell us everything you can. Put your name up there. Give us all the links. Do whatever you want. It's your show now. Go for it.
I think the things we're promoting at the moment is our modular book sets, Dungeons and Towns and Taverns, and the Wilderness, which we released in 2022. If you didn't back the Kickstarter for that, that for us is a really, really good set of products, because it gives you between the three of them every possible scenario you could need for fantasy-based role play, and because they are modular, you've got a lot more options there with building up different versions and iterations of all the same maps. We've also, as we think we've touched upon a little bit already, we're looking at our digital offering a little bit, and part of that is Matt's Patreon and us being a lot better and more organized about making available the digital maps we have, because I think it's a few hundred now.
Drive-Thru, I think we're on about 300 individual titles. Roll20 Marketplace has a different balance of doing things, so we need to put packs up onto Roll20. So we've got and we've got so many on the hard drive that have never made it out of the office as well. So it's about us getting ourselves organised to get our offering together and be better at doing it. And also we talked a little bit about sci-fi and cyberpunk, which is brilliant because there's not much out there for those markets at the moment in terms of maps. And while obviously at the moment we've got quite a lot of books and boxes in the pipeline, what we are doing is looking at a digital Kickstarter for sci-fi maps, which we're hoping to run around the end of the year, because the challenge with sci-fi is always going to be there's so many different sci-fi games and systems, and how do you reflect all of these in the book? And we've got our sci-fi books out and we think we've got a really good balance in there, but again, Matt's discovered that he loves to run massive dungeons, and he's also discovered he likes to run massive spaceships. They're fun things, isn't it?
So, and it's a good one for us to do, because obviously it means we can turn it around nice and quickly. We're not constrained by the physical shipping of products, which for us is always the worst bit, because we've made it, we wanted to get it to people, and it's going to take a few months for us to do that. So it's always very frustrating. So by doing a digital, we can literally fulfill it very quickly, which will be a delight. And it's so much fun to draw the big sci-fi maps. Yeah, because obviously our current ones, we tend to do a physical and a digital delivery. So yeah, like the digital delivery for the Wilderness was complete, months ago, March, maybe April for one or two of the adventure modules and things. Because of course, as soon as the Kickstarter's finished and you're going to print, you've got all the maps ready to go anyway, so that out they go digitally, and that's that fulfilled. But yes, it's also again working virtually in a digital platform. You can not just bigger, because they are a lot bigger, but you can you can be a lot more specific as well. So we can do layers of ships, so much more interesting stuff. And of course, these can be printed at home. or of course digital platforms too. So it's loads of fun, and yeah, we can do more with the maps for a quick turnaround digital Kickstarter.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're looking forward to. We haven't got anything to show you because this is everything is under wraps at the moment. There's nothing we can't. I can tell you, you're the first people we've told about this Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you very much. You know, maybe there you go, a Weegamers exclusive.
That is an exclusive. I think you may have had some clues. I know you are Kickstarter backers, and we sent a survey out to backers a few months ago, just sort of getting some feelings about what sort of sci-fi and what sort of fantasy maps you might like for the next sets. And then looking at what came back from that, we really just thought digitally we can, and that artistically can just deliver this so much better on digital platform.
Yeah.
It's also meant that when doing ships and things, I've been able to sort of do long thin maps and things if that suits that sort of design and similar sort of changes.
Well, that's nearly us for the time that we've got. One thing that I have to say is I'm sure that there's people that have not been listening to you, but I've been looking at your collection behind you, and I have to say it's one of the most impressive collections I've seen for a while. I have myself been checking out what there is, and I can see that there's Descent that's straight behind you, and I see Armada, and I see that you're full Zombicide fanatics. You know, well impressed with that. Is there any particular game that stands out for you from what you have behind you, or are you just a solid collector?
I think, well, at the moment we're playing Zombicide second edition the most as a family. Our daughter's very much enjoying killing zombies. I think if I was to pick a standout game that's on the shelves behind me that I'd have to pick, if I had to pick just one, it'll be Spacehawk. That's something I've loved so much when I was younger. It still holds up today.
It does.
It does. It is one that just sometimes keeps on getting better. I know there's loads of different versions of it, and everyone's got their particular favorite. So, Justin, anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up for the night?
Not really. It's great catching up with you guys again. And like I said, as much as I would have loved to have done something at the expo with you, I was very conscious of the fact that everyone's wearing masks. It's a very loud hall. You wouldn't have got anywhere near as much sort of conversation going on as doing this. But like I say, we followed up, and it's been just great to catch up with you again. And whenever Wilderness does arrive and make its way into the collection, we'll probably get in touch again. And we're always happy to have you on here at Weegamers.
Oh, thank you very much for having us. It was lovely to see you at the expo. Saying to Matt and you guys earlier, it was just nice to get out of the house, and the community is wonderful. It's just nice to go and see everybody again, because it's been almost 2 years, so it's lovely to go back to the NEC and see everyone from the expo and to see all the usual people there.